Hi everyone, Coach Gil here. Welcome back. Let's just get straight into it, all right? So it is Wednesday, so we're going to be now working with seniors, so that's going to be semi-pro to pro. Let's go straight into the metrics, right? Let's just get straight to the point, right? So again, we're working with seniors, so that's going to be 11 aside, 11v11. Your field size is going to be around 110 by 68 meters, and we're going to be working in a 4-3-3 formation. Quick and brief introduction about myself. My name is Gilbert Navarro. I go by Coach Gil. I am a U.S. Soccer B licensed coach as well as a UEFA C licensed coach through the Federation of Wales. I am also a assistant and data analyst for a USL 2 side as well as a assistant DOC for one of the oldest clubs here in New England. All right, so let's just get straight into it, right? So we've already established our metrics, right? Now let's establish we're on the field already, right? So we're at the senior level, so typically the field's going to get divided into thirds. So today we're going to be working in the defensive third. So let's just establish that, right? Typically this third is going to be around 35 meters, right? 35 by 68 meters, okay? And now at this age group, so these are seniors, right? The metrics that we are working with, right? So we're working on tactical awareness. We're going to be working on physical capacity, right? So at this level, players are fully developed into who they are as a professional. That's not saying they can't get better at that level, but they're well established in their goals, right? In their habits, and where they are. Formation. 4-3-3. So in this series, every Wednesday, we're going to be working on a 4 in the back formation, right? So why did I pick 4-3-3? It's the most common formation. It's seen all over the world. And, I said, why not something that we're all familiar with, right? So we start off every single episode answering the same 5 questions, right? Who, what, when, where, and why, right? So who's involved, right? So in this week, we're working on building up from the back, right? At the senior level. So build up from the back. So we're going to go with our goalkeeper, right? Our number 1, our 5 and our 4, our 2 defenders, right? And our pivot, right? Our number 6. We're going to focus on these boys specifically, right? So what is happening, right? So when the goalkeeper has played the ball here, the center back split, center back passes the ball, player comes in and presses, right? And then all of a sudden, our 6 checks in, but then gets marked, right? Then our 8 gets marked, then our 10 gets marked, right? And then all of a sudden, we somehow either mispass it or we lose the ball in the press. They take the ball and they score a goal, right? Everybody's obsessed with building out of the back from these days, but now we're going to start going into, what do we need to understand to make sure that it works, right? So that's going to be in our what. So when is it happening? So we're going to work in goal kicks. We're going to work on restarts, right? So it's just going to be goal kicks or restarts typically is when you're going to face this scenario. Where? So across the defensive third, right? So in the central and the wide channels, right? And then why? Why is this happening, right? So let's break this down, right? So there's a few things that we have to look at first, right? So let's look at the defensive team first. So when we're playing from the goal kick, a lot of times now teams are doing this system where we'll have both of our center backs, our 5 and our 4, right? Playing into the goalkeeper, right? Which is correct. You want to be able to go to both sides, right? Now, what teams are doing nowadays is they're establishing such a high press, going man for man. So this is forcing the goalkeeper to make a decision. Can't go long, and although he's free, the longer he holds the ball, eventually the press is going to arrive, right? With that, this forces the goalkeeper to now make a decision, right? Which is that pass. So again, we're already established in a man marking system. So the biggest issue that defending teams are going to find is that they're always going to find themselves in this 2v1 here with the goalkeeper and the right center back, right? At this level, the press is a lot more, I don't want to say complex, but it's a lot more specific, right? So you're taught now to, instead of pressing directly, right? If I go straight back, this is just going to go back to the, there goes the ball. We're back, right? And if this is going to go back to the goalkeeper, then all of a sudden the goalkeeper, this creates space, right? Now movement allows for more recycling of possession, right? So it's a 2v1. So they want that press, once that pass is made, to be at an angle, right? So instead of going directly to the center back, you're going to run at an angle. They're going to run at an angle, right? So run at an angle and boom. This pass here is now cut off from the goalkeeper to the right center back, right? In this moment, right? So this forces a decision. We're involving the 6, right? So the 6 drops, but now he's marked. He's marked. He's still in the middle. This guy's marked. This guy's marked. And force either go long or force a bad pass, force it through, force a bad pass, right? and then possession is lost. I'm a firm believer that the game works in a balance. Right now, we've seen in the past 10 years that building out of the back is so crucial that now balance, or the opposite effect of that, is now that you're seeing teams now pressing the highest and the most aggressive man-to-marking systems that we've ever seen as a consequence of that. How can we beat this, right? How can we now beat this press? Let's just reset everybody here really quick. When working with players who are a lower skilled, lower technical ability, let's say you don't have players who are just able to dribble through pressure, right? You have to use the elements of the game. So when you're working with that, you want to assign your players simple tasks, right? You want to set them up for success. That's something that I've seen translate at all levels. You want to set up your team for success, your players for success. So how can we do that? Essentially assigning simple tasks. So if we're going to look at the 3 and the 2, we can say, hey, once this ball is played, don't stay wide. Because the fact that you stay wide, that leaves you to being marked. Automatically, you're just marked. And yes, there's a lot of space that this, let's say, for example, let's work with the 3. All this space here. But if he can't beat him one-on-one, it doesn't matter. All this space doesn't matter if he can't beat him one-on-one. How can I now put my team in a position to succeed, right? I would say to my fullbacks, hey, instead of staying here wide before the ball is played, I would say, hey, I want you to actually tuck in, and then once this ball is played to the goalkeeper, then push out wide, because that's going to force these guys to make a decision. It's also going to force them to cover more ground. They're not going to be set in their shape. Typically, if you're here, these boys are going to stay up here unless they're going to press really high and go man. And even if they are man, it's a bit insane. That movement itself, these players are going to be following. So then when this ball is played, then you have a better ball through. Now, in the beginning, I said who was involved, right? We had the 6. Let's go into the 6's role and now beating this high press. Again, give simple instruction. All I could say is, hey, when the ball is played, I actually want you to drop as a fullback, because now that's going to force a 2v1. You're setting your team, your fullback, up for success in that moment. Once this ball is played, bang, to the goalie. This guy comes through. This guy gets the ball. This guy presses at an angle. This guy comes to mark. But now he's coming all the way out wide and he's pushing up. So this is going to force a decision. Either he's going to have to come out completely out of position, allowing space for your midfielder to drop here and be an option, or the wide player is going to have to press, which is then going to leave the fullback open out wide. So very simple, right? This isn't involving a high skill level technical ability 1v1s. We're now looking at a more higher skilled level, right, on beating this press. We've already gone through rotation. We've already gone through being able to place your players in different positions around the field, being able to have your team be a little bit more malleable and have them set up for success, manipulating the space and forcing them to cover through movement. Now, if we're at a higher skill level, let's say now we're seeing that it's a lot more common that center backs hold the ball. Why is that such an important piece in the modern day game? A simple way, right, is we'll go in the same scenario. This ball gets played to the center back. This guy comes into press. It's a pass. So we're running at an angle. Maybe this guy drops and he decides to cover. And this guy marks and this guy marks. Technically, we're still in deep trouble. The ball's in our own half. It's in our own 18. We're marked out of the game. But again, we're talking about a more high-skilled ability player. This is why center backs who have the ball give your players the confidence, that boat of confidence, right, to be able to carry the ball into space. Because now that's going to force a defender to come up, a midfielder, a defender to come to set, right, to press, right? That's why now ball-carrying defenders are so important, because that's what's going to manipulate the press, right, and manipulate the space. If you have players who are good with the ball, then use that strength to your team's advantage. Play into the space. Tell them to go, take your space. Playing out of the back necessarily isn't, death by 1,000 paper cuts every single time. You can just get straight to the point and go up the field if your center backs are of a high level. Now, if your midfielders are at a high level, take into account this. Let's say we have this rotation. This guy comes in. Actually, no. Let's do the exact same scenario. Let's not overcomplicate it for you guys, all right? So let's go back here, right? Center back receives the ball. This guy's pressing. Everyone here is marked. This guy comes out wide. Let's say he either drags him or he drags him, whatever it may be. Playing into your player, watch how the defender, which side the defender is against the midfield or your winger. If they are on the side opposite of the goal. So if they're defending against the back of your midfielder, then you're able to play into the player. And if, again, your players of a higher skill, they have a better chance of being able to, hit the feint, being able to skill, right? Make the way around the team and break that press. And again, it's important to make sure that you're aware of this, whether they're in their shadow or whether they're in front. Because if they're in front, then it's just a game of can this person avoid the mark in behind, because you can't obviously make that pass. So you have to be aware of this small micro scenario, because that's going to establish if your player is going to be able to break that press. Mistakes. So very common mistakes is, let's say, a very common scenario that you'll find is that the goalkeeper becomes very predictable. The ball's played here. Hey, it worked this time. Passes back. This guy comes in. This guy pushes up. Maybe this guy covers, right? So it becomes predictable. So now we could say, okay, what if now the fullback is quicker to jump? The fullback is quicker to jump and shift the defensive line. So now they're adding numbers. So you become predictable. So that's the biggest thing, is being able to now vary the side that you're playing the system through. The pivot. Your pivot is very crucial in this moment, because again, in that one scenario, the pivot, if he's dropping out wide to become a false fullback, you don't want him just hiding here, because again, this press at this level is always making sure that the angle of play is cut off, that the angle of the ball is always cut off, no matter what. If your guy's just walking and hiding, then essentially you've cut off the rest of the field and you're going to be forced to play it long. Versus if you have a pivot who's active in the play, moving from side to side, moving from one moment to the other, right, wherever the ball needs, whether he's needed in the middle, whether he's needed here in the half spaces, if he's needed out wide. Having an active pivot is a huge plus. It's a big plus, because this pivot moves here. This gives space for these guys to now drop and make a move. Pivot, let's say, stay central. Maybe the center mid can take over. Maybe this guy can drop out wide. The number 6 will dictate so much of how space is manipulated for the rest of the team. That's why it's such a valued and undervalued position. The fullbacks, this is a common mistake, that this movement, the understanding that it's not the space itself that creates the opportunity, but it's the manipulation of the space. Am I able to move and force this defender to move? Because there's nothing worse for a defender than a moving target, than a moving object. Because then now mentally he has to be aware, where is my target? Is he going up? Is he going down? Is he overlapping? Is he going to drop? The movement of the fullback is very important and very crucial, especially understanding how hard the press is going to be in that moment. So to recap, from our build-up, center backs, the 6, putting our team in positions to succeed. Simple instruction. Hey, I need you to drop out wide, be a false fullback. So this guy, hey, I need you to push up once the 6 does that, right? That creates that rotation and that manipulation of space. Hey, I need you to drop. I need you guys to, hey, when the ball's played, push out wide, not just stay there from the start. Pivot, make sure your pivot is always active. They are a key player in manipulating the space for the rest of the team. And your midfield and defenders, if they are of a high skill, technical ability, use that to your advantage. Don't just go through a death of 1,000 cuts trying to pass your way every single time, because then you become predictable. Okay, that's it for today. If you enjoyed it, please let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you think I'm full of it, also let me know. This was fun. I really enjoyed making this, so I hope you guys enjoy it as well, right? So, Coach Gil out. If you're seeing this, it means you've reached the end of the video. So first of all, thank you so much. Second, the journey does not end here, not for me at least, right? So I'm looking to get back into university. If you would like to be a part of that journey and contribute, please check out some of the links down below. And if not, that's perfectly fine, right? The whole purpose of this channel was to make sure that I can give away all my knowledge for free, and you can take this in your own environments and raise the level of the game all over the world. So again, thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next episode.